I hear the elevator cables before I see the man. Steel humming through concrete like a throat clearing in a cathedral. The 13th floor doesn't exist on the panel, but I am standing on it anyway. My phone flashlight a thin white knife in the dark hallway. The doors along the corridor don't have numbers. Each bears the same brushed metal plate. Confessional. My palms smell like pennies and the citrus of the lobby soap. Behind me, Lake Michigan pushes its wind against the glass, cold breath leaking through every seam. A message vibrates in my pocket. Room B. No names, no phones. Tell the truth or the room tells it for you. I exhale and the air fogs. The building is warm, but the corridor isn't. It feels refrigerated for something delicate and alive. I am 30, a woman who alphabetizes her spices and leaves the TV on for company. And I am here because 3 people I know, one coworker, one barista, one friend of a friend whose book club I joined for the snacks, vanished in the past 2 months after posting a single sentence each. I finally told the truth. Their accounts went quiet. The city shrugged like a jacket it didn't like. The door to room B opens an inch on its own. Not a draft, an invitation. Yellow light spills onto the gray carpet, too warm to be flattering, too bright to forgive. I slide my phone into my boot, switch it to airplane mode, and step inside. A circle of chairs, a bowl of limes on a side table as if someone mistook hospitality for auditing. The room smells faintly of antiseptic and paper. 8 people sit with their hands folded like students waiting to be graded. A man in his 40s with a clean, theater kid smile watches me sit. His suit fits like a plan. He gestures to an empty chair. "Welcome," he says. "What's your secret?" My name is Nora Hart. I edit medical textbooks by day and inventory my anxieties at night. I came to see a game, to understand the rules. But when the man on my left whispers, "Say it," or "It takes it," and the lights dim exactly 1 notch, the part of me that believes in circuits doesn't laugh. It listens. What kind of club promises relief and delivers a disappearance?
My life looks good on paper. That's the problem with paper. It accepts any sentence so long as you end it cleanly. I'm a senior copy editor at Wexler Academic in the Loop, which means I spend my days arguing with doctors about whether less should be fewer. My red pen is patient and brutal. I bring order to paragraphs and pretend it will spill over. I live alone in a 1-bedroom near Logan Square with a plant that resents me less when I read to it. My mother texts me pictures of her cat wearing seasonal neckwear, and my father sends short emails with links to articles I don't open because clicking feels like a contract. I run along the 606 when the lake wind is forgiving, and I buy coffee from the same shop where the barista, Jay, knows my order and my mood better than anyone I've dated since I moved here from Champaign. My last relationship ended the way most of mine do. A polite, long conversation that both of us had been rehearsing for months. He wanted a cabin and mornings that smelled like firewood. I wanted a city that smells like rain on hot metal and a job where I could hide inside commas. We said still friends and meant people who will pretend we don't see each other on the blue line. I don't gamble, but grief taught me to play odds. I was 25 when my younger brother Eli wrapped his car around a guardrail on a county road slick with first snow. He wasn't drunk, he was 20. Physics is a bully. After the funeral, a cousin said, "Everything happens for a reason." And I thought, what a small God. What a lazy, mean little God to outsource the reason to us. I learned a different religion. Routines, lists, the algebra of staying upright. I learned to let the hard feelings clock in and then go home. And then, in January, the city found a new game. The first post I noticed came from Leela, a marketing assistant at Wexler, who writes like an engine. It was a photo of a silver envelope and a caption, "Tonight, Club of Anonymous Secrets. I'm tired of carrying mine." The comments split into confetti and concern. I rolled my eyes. It was January in Chicago. Of course people wanted to invent rituals that smelled like change. The next morning, Leela did not come to work. The next week, she still hadn't. HR said leave of absence with the kind of voice you use when your mouth has been edited by a lawyer. I told myself she'd gone on a trip. I told myself she'd gotten a better job. Then, the barista, Jay, posted a similar photo, and 2 days later, the guy who ran the Thursday night writing group at the bookstore posted, "I finally told the truth. It was easier than I thought." He stopped replying to texts. The club was a rumor shaped like a dare. 8 strangers, 1 room, 1 rule. You tell your secret, the one that organizes your life in the dark, and the room does something with it. Some said it recorded confessions and wiped the file if you passed. Some said you had to drink limes and salt like a reverse shot ritual and share the worst thing you'd done to someone who wasn't there. Others said the only way to leave was to be chosen by consensus. The group votes you out, or the room keeps you. I don't believe in haunted houses, but I do believe in consensus. I believe in the danger of a room that persuades people there's a single truth that will save them if they say it correctly. I believe in the way people get high on being seen, even if the eye is mechanical. A flyer appeared taped to the mailbox row in my building in March. Minimalist typography, the kind that wants to look expensive. Tired of carrying it? Confession isn't punishment, it's data. Apply. A QR code. I scanned it. It led to a form that asked for nothing and everything. First name only, a sentence about your secret without using proper nouns, and a checkbox. Are you willing to be honest if it hurts? I closed the browser and felt watched by my own thumb. 2 weeks later, I found a silver envelope on my front doormat, tucked under the grocery circulars. No stamp. My name in block letters. Inside, a metal token the size of a quarter, engraved with an eye, a lime green ribbon, and a card with a date and a time and a building on Wabash but doesn't have a 13th floor. The night before the meeting, I went to the lake and let the cold slap the part of my face where fear lives. I imagined 8 chairs and a bowl of limes and decided this was theater for people who had run out of church. I told myself I would go like a scientist, tape notes like a thief, and leave before the curtain fell. Then I dreamed about doors with numbers and woke up with blood in my mouth from biting my lip. When Jay stopped showing up to the coffee shop and their Instagram went blank, I packed my fear into my bag with my wallet and the red pen I take everywhere and went downtown anyway. I didn't tell anyone. Secrets require solo commutes. What does the room want with your truth if it promises to give it back cleaner?
Room B is warm like a fever. The therapist's smile belongs to a man who introduces himself as Simon. He does not ask for mine. He taps his token against the chair arm, the metal making a click that sounds like punctuation. Ground rule, he says. You tell the truth. We do not use names. We do not trade confessions after. We are not the police. We are not priests. We are the room. The 8 of us glance at one another the way commuters do when the train stops in a tunnel and the lights flicker, calculating our odds, the exit points, the number of shoulders that look like safety. A woman in a mustard sweater picks lint from her cuff with surgical attention. A boy who can't be older than 21 grips the chair like it's closing. A man in a work jacket smells like winter air and machine oil. His knees keep time with a song only he hears. Who starts? Simon asks, not looking at me and looking at me anyway. A woman to my right clears her throat. I take things, she says. Her voice is soft, the kind that apologizes even while it asks to be understood. Little things. Pens, scarves, a plant from my dentist's office. I know it's wrong. I can't stop. I don't sell them. I put them in my linen closet and feel like I've put away a season. Simon nods like he's handing out permission. Why do you take them? She twists her ring. Because they're not mine. And if I can carry that without the world breaking, maybe I can carry everything else that isn't mine too. The boy speaks next. I told my dad I hate him. He laughed and said get in line. He died a week later. I didn't go to the funeral. I said I was sick and no one fought me. His mouth tries to smile and can't finish the sentence. We go around the circle. A tech recruiter who writes women's bios like resumes and then proposes to them in bars. A teacher who gives the easy kids harder work because she can't stop herself from punishing competence. A woman who catfishes men who voted the wrong way because she likes winning arguments she can't have in daylight. A nurse who pocketed a wedding ring for an hour and gave it back only after she cried in a supply closet and told herself she wasn't a thief if she returned it before anyone noticed. When it's my turn, I say the thing I rehearsed. When my brother died, I made a list of the people who didn't bring casseroles. I still keep it. A small laugh snags on the carpet and doesn't make it to anyone's mouth. I breathe. I edit textbooks about how to keep bodies alive. I like rules because they make grief look like it's solvable. I date men who won't ask me to tell them where the list is. The room does not clap. It exhales. Simon leans forward, eyes the polished kind, and says, "There's a deeper one." The lights dim a fraction. The bowl of limes gleams. The metal plate on the door hums a frequency my teeth feel. The nurse whispers, "Say it, or the room says it." I think if I say the worst thing first, everything after will be lighter, I tell him. I think secrets have weight, and if I pick them up at the right angle, I can carry them without screaming. I think if I confess enough, no one will notice the part of me that doesn't plan on forgiving anyone who didn't bring a casserole. Simon smiles like a magician about to produce a dove. He says, "Good. Better." When we leave, he hands each of us a small white card with the word "next." Mine has a date. Under it, bring someone. The elevator is slow as repentance. On the sidewalk, the air smells like iron and city snow about to turn. The boy lights a cigarette with his hands cupped like a prayer. The nurse touches my elbow. "Don't bring anyone," she says softly, eyes on the street. That night, the first email arrives. "Thanks for your honesty, Nora. Tell one person. It makes it real." The room knows my name. It knows my email. It knows the thing about me that I didn't say out loud, that I'll go back if a voice tells me it will cost more if I don't. What kind of truth multiplies when you add witnesses?
The second meeting is smaller. One chair sits empty like a tooth pulled from the smile. No one says Leela. No one says Jay. The bowl of limes is fresh. Simon's suit is darker. The room feels as if it has moved an inch closer to our throats. Between meetings, the city starts to whisper. Accounts go quiet. The barista's roommate posts a thread about digital suicide pacts and deletes it an hour later. The bookstore's owner tapes a note to the door, "Temporarily closed." A mutual friend forwards me a Medium post that unspools like paranoia and reads like prophecy. The club isn't a confession circle. It's a funnel. It collects leverage. It keeps you with praise. It sells the best stories. The post disappears within a day like a breath on glass. I track the club online the way I track typos in galley proofs, highlighting rumors with greener and greener highlighter. A dozen influencers in quieter cities post the same silver envelopes, their captions coy and hungry. Commenters ask where to apply. No one explains how to leave. At work, my brain refuses to hold on to anything but this moving target. A cardiologist writes murmur as murmurs, and I let it slide past my eye once, twice, then correct it with a guilty thrill like I've prevented a public execution. Priya, my acquisitions editor and friend with a world-class eyebrow, leans on my cubicle wall. "You've been in your head for 3 weeks," she says. "What's the name of the head?" "Competition," I lie. "Worried about a promotion I don't want." She snorts. "Bring your ghost to trivia night Friday," she says. "Let it loose at music rounds." The second email arrives. "Bring someone you love." The room loves proof. It includes a second token. I hold it like a coin at the edge of a fountain and decide which wish is most likely to drown me. I don't bring Priya. I bring Matt, a soft-shouldered man I dated for 2 months last year. The kind of person whose laugh can be heard 2 tables away and felt like mercy when I had the flu. I choose him because I care enough to trust him and not enough to confess anything that would ruin us. It feels like cheating. It feels like strategy. He comes because people say yes to experiences if they sound like a story they'll get to tell later. He wears a sweater that makes him look like good news. "Is this like the moth?" he asks in the elevator. "Sure, if the moth didn't let you leave until you bled a little." Room B is colder. The bowl holds limes and, new, salt packets like a gag. Simon's smile has calcified. He welcomes us like a host on a streaming platform. Cameras we can't see,
Numbers he knows. We go around. The woman who steals objects cries when she says, "I kept my sister's ultrasound picture for a week." The boy says, "I sent flowers to the cemetery and didn't sign the card." The nurse says nothing. Simon lets silence rake us. New guest, he means, Matt. What's your truth? Matt glances at me for permission without knowing that's what he's doing. I'm nice because I don't want to be alone. I'm generous because debt feels better than rejection. I leave before people can leave me. I tell myself it's self-care. The room doesn't sting him. It thanks him. The light's warm. After, in the hallway, he laughs in relief. Group therapy for people who never go to therapy? Weirdly, good. My phone buzzes. He'll bring more. Good girl. The text comes from a number labeled no caller ID. I feel the algorithm of it like a finger on my scalp. At 2 a.m., I scroll a private forum where the club is a rumor with teeth, a thread titled, "Where Do They Go?" filled with guesses, screenshots, usernames that read like masks. A user named 13th FL posts a photo of a long, dark hallway with doors labeled confessional and a caption, "Keep your phone in your shoe." The post disappears while I'm reading the comments. In the morning, I find a silver envelope propped against my coffee maker. My lock is not broken. My windows are closed. The card inside reads, "Next Sunday. Bring proof." The back bears a printed sentence, "People who lie to the room lie to themselves." My apartment smells like oranges again, as if the room leaves a scent when it visits, like a person with too much cologne. That night, I dream in second person, a voice telling me what I do before I decide. You will go. You will tell something that isn't yours to tell. You think it saves them. I wake with my jaw locked and my tongue tasting of lime. When Jay's roommate posts a clip of the barista at an ATM at 4:13 a.m., withdrawal, balance inquiry, walk away, banish at the corner, I call the number on the envelope. It rings and rings like an old movie phone, and then a recording answers, "Thank you for being brave. Please bring a confession someone else cannot." The line clicks off. My apartment's walls, usually ugly and dependable, feel like they're leaning in. How do you fight a room that keeps telling you it's helping you?
The third next card instructs me to bring an external. The room eats personal shame like bread. Now it wants meat. I bring a story that isn't mine. I bring Eli. Say his name, Simon says, and I do, and the room softens its lights as if learning a ritual. I tell them the thing I have told only my therapist in a parking garage once, crying at a green light, that a week before Eli died, he called me and said, "I don't want to do this anymore." And I said, "Do what?" And he said, "Breathe." And I said, "You're being dramatic." He laughed. We hung up. I did not call him back until the next day. He didn't answer. It was ice and physics and speed, the police report said, not intention. But my body never read the report. The room breathes. The bowl of limes looks obscene, slick, wet under the light. The boy across from me has his fist pressed to his mouth like a cork. Simon nods, like, "We're almost there." And the secret. I swallow, and my breath tastes like metal. I didn't call my brother back, I say, and there is a part of me that is relieved he died the way he did so I don't have to know if he meant it. The nurse makes a noise, a bird hit by a window. The teacher stares at the floor as if grammar lives there. I want to take the sentence back by its tail and stuff it into my mouth. Saying it doesn't cleanse me, it stains the room. After, Simon hands me a white card with "proved" stamped on it. "You're brave," he says. The way a person says "good dog" to a creature that brought back a stick no one threw. Bring someone next time who makes it hurt. I go home and vomit quietly into my sink and keep the water running so the neighbors won't hear my confession repeating itself when I spit. The next day, a man with a tasteful podcast announces a new season, Anonymous Confessions City Edition. The trailer features a voice distorted into a metallic whisper, telling a story about a dead brother and a phone call. The phrasing is mine, but the details have been shaved and polished. "Grief makes us selfish," the voice says, and listeners in the comments say, "Wow," and "raw," and "so brave," and "this saved me." The host thanks his partners in behavioral science. The sponsors are everything you expect. therapy apps, weighted blankets, a lime-flavored electrolyte powder. My hands shake when I call the number on the card. A woman answers. Her voice is composed of perfectly stacked smiles. She says, "You agreed to our terms," she cheerfully says. The room anonymizes. I say, "You recorded us." And the word us makes me feel both foolish and betrayed. She says, "The room helps people. If you bring good proof next time, we can explore promotion." She pronounces promotion like absolution. At Wexler, Priya leans around my monitor and says, "Did you start a podcast and forget to tell me?" Her joke doesn't know it has stepped on a landmine. I change the subject to M-dashes. I am not brave. I am functional. That night, a silver envelope under my door contains a thumb drive. It holds a single file, me in room B telling the part about not calling back. The audio is cleaned, EQ'd, scored with a low hum, like sympathy. If I don't show on Sunday, the note says, "We will protect your story for you." The room doesn't just want my confession, it wants my leverage. It wants to be the only place I answer. What happens to your secrets when the room that collects them owns a microphone?
I try to quit. The next card goes into the trash with the junk mail and the menu for a sushi place that used to be a bodega. I block the number. I unplug my doorbell camera because the buzzing makes me jump, like someone is testing the fire alarm in my blood. I tell myself that if I hide long enough, the room will find a shinier, more lucrative confession and leave me to my misspelled murmurs. The room does not like being told no. It does not throw a tantrum, it reassigns me. The podcast drops an episode titled The Ones Who Lie. In it, a voice that could be mine but isn't says I fabricate sorrow to be interesting. It says I'm the kind of woman who collects grief like bottle caps and glues them to frames. It says my brother was fine. I was bored. I made a villain out of weather. The host tuts warmly. Commenters say we all know someone like this, and narcissist, and she wanted the attention. My inbox floods with men who announce themselves as skeptics. The emails smell like mattress advertisements and onions. 2 days later, HR calls me into a room whose walls are designed to look serious and non-threatening. My manager, Kelly, slides a printout across the table like she's giving me a consent form for a minor surgery. It's a thread of posts in a private industry Slack, or someone linked the podcast and wrote, "Is this our Nora?" followed by frozen emojis and a few brave women typing "nope" while their hands shake. "Is it?" Kelly asks. Her tone is compassionate and managerial, two temperatures trying to share a glass. "If you're struggling, we can talk accommodations." I say I'm fine. I say I can do my job. I edit a chapter on post-op infection and miss 3 commas in a period because my highs keep catching on a margin where my name doesn't appear, but my shape does. After work, Priya takes me for dumplings and doesn't say podcast until I do. "Tell me what you need," she says. "Tell me what to break." I need to break a room. I need to break an algorithm. I need to break a story that learned my voice and sells it back to me. At home, a silver envelope with no card holds a photograph of me entering room B, timestamped. The note on the back reads, "Sunday or Tuesday, your choice." Choice is a set dressing. The phone number I blocked calls through no caller ID. The voice on the line is not kind and not unkind. It is efficient, it says. "We need your help. We're scaling. Your story tests well. Bring someone who matters to you. The room prefers mothers." I laugh, because otherwise I will scream. "My mother would burn your building," I say. "She will knit you a hat and set it on fire." The voice brightens. "Perfect," it says. "Mother's trend." I call my mother anyway and tell her I miss Eli and want lasagna. She says come, and I do, and her townhouse smells like garlic and love and magazines. I sleep in my old room under a poster of stars I never took down, and when I wake to pee at 3:10, I catch a shadow outside the window that moves away too smoothly. The next morning, a silver envelope lies under my mother's door. She holds it like a dead mouse by the tail, pinched in 2 fingers. She doesn't open it. She asks, "This yours?" I say yes and tell her everything, because the room told me to bring a mother, and I will bring mine to war. She listens like a librarian, which she is, And then she makes coffee and calls a lawyer she once shared a neighborhood watch meeting with, and a cousin named Lena, who was a digital forensics brick with good Wi-Fi. Lena calls me that night. They're laundering content, she says, voice bright like a woman who enjoys doing something hard. You hear you, but you don't hear you. They're using AI filters, decoy voices, mixing transcripts. The room is a content farm with a better interior designer. They own a co-working floor and a shell nonprofit. The confessional doors are for brand. The business is licensing pain at scale. Scale is a word I have used without thinking for 10 years. It has never made me nauseous before. Can we stop it? I ask. And Lena says, we can make it unprofitable, which in this country is often the same thing. The plan is simple. I go back. I carry in what they want, a mother, but I bring a different kind. Mrs. Alvarez, my downstairs neighbor, 68, retired nurse, church treasurer, holder of exactly 0 digital subscriptions and 3 good clipboards. She plays mother to the whole building, whether we invite her or not. She is also an evidence goblin. She will keep her phone in her shoe and her shoe in her bag. She will smile and pat a hand and walk out with the recording so clean a saint would blush signing the release. Priya insists on being nearby with a car and a bat that she calls her decision-making aid. My mother prays in Polish, which always makes me feel like God is announcing flight delays. I put on my boots and the jacket Eli once stole from my closet in high school. It still smells faintly like cedar and a perfume I never wore. Sunday, 11:45 p.m. We ride the elevator to a floor that does not exist. The corridor is colder. The plate reads confessional as if it will belong to me afterwards. Inside, the bowl holds limes and salt and 8 small white envelopes, one under each chair. Simon smiles like he's already paid. Welcome back, he says. Who did you bring? I say my mother and introduce Mrs. Alvarez by her first name, which is not the one on her church email list. She squeezes my fingers once. Her palms smell like lavender and printer toner. Wonderful, Simon says. The room loves the original author. We sit. The chairs hum like the inside of a refrigerator. Simon says, tonight is proof. Bring the truth about someone you love. The room lowers the lights, the better to dramatize. I imagine the soundboard in the back, a slider labeled Tears. Mrs. Alvarez looks directly into the corner where the camera lives and says clearly, my husband drank. He stopped when the state took his license because they are cowards who still wanted him sober enough to work. I stayed because I was tired. I left when the tires in my car were cut. I pressed charges. I slept. It wasn't brave. It was necessary. Somewhere behind the mirrored wall, a producer marks, not usable. When it's my turn, I do something I am not proud of and would do again. I tell the room a secret that is both mine and not the one at once. I wish my brother had called me and asked for a joke. I wish the last thing I'd said to him was stupid, not tidy. The room leans in. I lean back. Simon smiles like a cliff and says, and the real one, he says softly, expecting the aha. I let the silence widen like a mouth that refuses to open. The envelopes under our chairs chirp. Each holds a printed page, a transcript of our last session, underlined bits where the room wants more shame, a footer with a logo that reads, The Mercy Project in serif font you'd trust with your grandmother's will. My stomach drops hard enough to grab the floor. Mrs. Alvarez sneezes and bends to her purse. She presses her shoe and the tiny red light in the heel blinks alive. The room inhales like a chorus. Let's try something, Simon says. Nora, slip the phone out of your boot. He says it the way you say, I see you to a child under a table. His eyes are kind. His eyes are a ledger. I don't flinch. What phone? I say. And the nurse from meeting one who has come every time without speaking finally speaks. The one in your left boot, she says gently. The room always knows. So do we. How do you kill a room built to eat the word no?
I have 2 moves. Say the thing the room wants and let it own me, or light a match inside my throat and see if the sprinklers work. I don't have anything else, I tell Simon. I am boring. I am a comma with shoes. I smile the way women do when they want you to underestimate the knife in their purse. Simon's mouth curves. We can help you find it. I choose violence the way librarians do, with documentation. Are you recording? I ask, loud enough for the corner camera. Of course, he says, too quickly. For quality. Mrs. Alvarez coughs. The heel recorder purrs. Priya sits in her idling Civic at the curb, bat across her knees, engine a prayer. Lena watches a stack of monitors in her apartment 3 miles away, goosebumps counting packet loss, the RTSP stream we siphoned from the building's very dumb smart cameras climbing onto a cloud the room doesn't own. I open the printed transcript and read it back to the room with my editor voice. When I reached the line where the podcast's cut made me sound like a monster, I pause and say, I did not say that, into the camera. I say, you added that. I say, here is my voice. Here is the version you sold. Here is the seam. Simon does not move. Nora, he says softly, slipping my name around the room like a ribbon. Don't you want relief? I want receipts, I say, and Mrs. Alvarez laughs a church laugh that has seen pastors humbled. The boy, no longer a boy in this light, says very quietly, I think they took my dad's voicemail. The woman who steals scarves covers her face. Simon stands. We're done, he says, and the door thunks like a shoulder. I could give them more, my mother's prayers, Priya's bat, Lena's stream, but the midpoint is a choice, not a victory. I put the transcript back in its envelope. I tuck it under my jacket like a passport. We'll be in touch, he says. He means we will retaliate. He means we will decide what you confessed. He means the room writes endings. So will I. Which hurts more, letting a room own your worst story or telling it yourself where everyone can see the stitching?
Lena sends me a spreadsheet at 3:06 a.m. I hear the email arrive like a seatbelt click. The subject line, The Mercy Tree. In clean rows, shell companies, podcasts, production houses, with names that sound like charities and eat like wolves. The Club of Anonymous Secrets is one branch. Others, the Forgiveness Lab, Grace Sessions, Truth Tellers Chicago. Different interiors, same bones. Each has a building with a lost floor, a bowl of limes, and a way of calling women brave while rifling their pockets. We follow the money with the hunger of people wronged. Sponsorships, data deals, a behavioral research nonprofit with a board photo that includes a man who was in Room B Week 1, a guest, now wearing a blazer with a lapel pin I recognize from the envelopes. Simon is listed as community director at 3 entities and host at 2. His legal name is not Simon. It's close enough. Freya drafts a pitch for long-form piece and teaches me to write a version of myself that editors can't ignore. She says, we don't say expose, we say reckoning. We don't say victims, we say subjects. We don't say club, we say network. Mrs. Alvarez meets me in the building laundry room with a Ziploc bag full of courage. 2 tiny SD cards labeled with dates. Redundant, she says. Redundancy saves lives. She points to my boots. Your left heel squeaks, she adds, because there is always something practical to fix. The room attacks like a person who pretends never to raise their voice. The podcast releases a new episode when editors lie. It features a distorted voice reading a confession that pretends to be mine and is in fact a splice of 3 women's grief cut into a shape that pundits will call problematic. The Mercy Project sends a cease and desist to Priya's personal email for a story she hasn't even sold yet, claiming tortious interference and defamation, and other words designed to make freelancers sleep badly. At Wexler, Kelly asked gently whether I can keep my extracurriculars out of the office. I ask whether the office can keep its managers from listening to playlists with names like Truth Fridays. She says she'll take it under advisement. The room trains women to sound like a room. Then the second twist knocks. The boy, name still unknown, goes missing. He does not post a last sentence. He simply stops coming. and his handle on the form goes idle, and a photo of him appears on a flyer in the lobby of a community college on the south side. Have you seen? The date on the flyer is 7 days old. The room always asks the group to vote for who should rest. We assumed metaphor. We were wrong about which part. Mrs. Alvarez and I go to the building on Wabash at noon when the lobby smells like coffee and the elevator smells like sheets. We ride to the 14th, because the 13th is a lie, then take the stairs down. The corridor is lit now. Normal, banal, indifferent. The plate on room B reads, maintenance. We try the handle. It opens into a room with folding tables, stacked chairs, a mop sink. No bowl, no limes. The mirror is a mirror. The glass holds only our faces, two women who have decided to be impolite. Back in the lobby, a woman with a lanyard that reads Mercy takes our photo with her eyes and says tours are Tuesdays. Her smile is the kind you put on when you're not sure whether the person with the complaint has a lawyer. Mrs. Alvarez smiles back like a knife. We're returning a casserole dish, she says, and we leave. Lana texts, check your bank. The room has attempted to charge me for membership. My card declines because I have finally learned to be suspicious of free lunches. She texts again. Their cloud is in Ireland. I'm working. Priya texts, got a bite, and then you'll hate the headline. My mother texts a photo of her cat in a sweater, and then are you eating, which is the Polish immigrant version of are you okay? That night, I dream Eli is sitting at the edge of my bed, tapping my knee. Call me back, he says. And I wake with my phone in my hand and the taste of lime again. Human brains are lazy with imagery when tired. We decide on a funeral, not for the boy who I hope is alive and hiding, but for the version of the room that makes people shrug and say it's just content. Priya's piece runs online with a headline I forgive, The Business of Anonymous Pain. It includes audio clips from Mrs. Alvarez's shoe, Lena's diagrams, quotes from a media ethicist who used to hire me to nitpick citations. It also includes a still from a building camera of Simon taking a bow in an empty room B, the plate reading, confessional. His smile looking suddenly small. The room responds with a press release. We facilitate healing. The comments are a mudslide. Half the city yells grift, the other half types cancel culture with such devotion you think those were the words that saved them from fire. 2 nights later, a silver envelope appears under my pillow. It holds a single card. Last, bring your forgiveness. The back lists a time and a place that is not Wabash. It's a warehouse by the river that smells like the city's oldest breath. The boy's flyer hangs on a streetlight outside, flapping. Do I go? Of course I go. I bring Priya with her bat, and Lena with her backpack full of wires, and Mrs. Alvarez with the rosary she uses like a stopwatch. I bring my mother, who sits in the car, and prays with the heater on because she knows when to let me fight my own knife fights. The warehouse's door is propped open with a crate of limes. Inside, folding chairs, fairy lights, a portable PA, and Simon, no suit, just a sweater that makes him look like a man who would fix your printer. 20 people, no cameras we can see, a sign-in sheet on a clipboard, and a woman with a soft voice handing out name tags that say, no names, in a fun font. Welcome, Simon says, and even now my body wants to sit, be good, be graded. This time when the lights dim, the door locks. This time when the bowl comes around, the limes smell like something hotter than citrus. How do you end a game that keeps changing the rules while you play?
They call it a release. They mean a show. Tonight, Simon says, pacing the aisle like a man rehearsing his TED Talk, we will do something clean, truth without residue. He holds up a lime, we bite. He holds up a salt packet, we taste. He holds up a small white envelope. We give what we have no right to keep. Around me, 20 shoulders edge toward agreement. Humans like steps. They confer a sense of safety. We love to be told how many there are. He turns to me as if the room wrote it that way. Nora, he says, start us. I stand because refusing would make me a story in their mouth before I can narrate it in mine. The truth is, I say, and my voice sounds like someone who slept, I don't owe you my worst thing. Murmurs ripple. I keep going. I owed it to my brother. I owed it to my mother. I owed it to the city when boys go missing.
I don't owe it to a man with a bowl of limes. A woman in the second row starts to cry like she's been waiting for an alternate script. Someone shushes her. My hands are steady. Mrs. Alvarez leans an elbow on a folding chair and looks like a woman who has waded through worse sermons. Simon smiles. Defiance is a kind of confession, he says. He gestures to the man at the portable mixer, Bryce, the producer, the trash bag poncho now replaced with the black hoodie he thinks makes him invisible. We honor all kinds. The door at the back opens and two men shepherd in someone with their hood up. The room inhales. The kid pushes the hood back. It's the boy, eyes red and flat. He looks at me and then at the floor like the floor can tell the future better than we can. See, he says, warmly, we keep our own safe. The boy flinches. His lip is split. Priya shifts her bat in the aisle like a punctuation mark. Tonight, Simon continues, we will vote to keep one truth here. We will hold it so the person can be free. He says free like an Uber code. He hands out slips of paper. Write the name of the truth you think should stay. Not the person, the truth. People write. They fold. They carry their little squares like atonement. Bryce collects them in the lime crate. He does not look at me. I can smell his gum. Winter mint. A decision. Lena's eyes meet mine. She taps her wrist. Go time. She slips behind the table with the mixer like a cat that knows exactly how tall it is. Her backpack coughs wire. I do the thing I came to do. I read my own transcript into their microphone, the real one and the cut, back to back, and then I played the clip of Simon saying last month in Room B, we own the masters, the sentence caught on Mrs. Alvarez's heel. The crowd doesn't gasp, it stiffens. Simon laughs like a man forgiving a toddler. Context, he says. Everything edited is owned. That's how media works. Not people, I say. Not grief, not boys. The boy lifts his head. He made me tell my dad's voicemail. They said the room would keep it. They put it in the show. He points at Bryce. He laughed when I cried. Bryce does what men like him do when the camera isn't on. He sneers. You showed up. That's consent. Mrs. Alvarez says, in the voice that quiets triage rooms, no. Priya stands. The bat looks like part of her arm. Lena pulls a cable and the fairy lights flicker, and then flare, and then they die. The room drops into a soft, shocked dark. The PA squeals and then whines, and then is very quiet. In the darkness, you hear truth first as movement. Chairs shift, someone breathes too fast, a line rolls and hits a shoe. In that small chaos, I find the boy's hand. I say, come on. And he says, will they let me? And I say, they don't let, we go. We move toward the door. It is locked, but locks are designed to make people feel better, not to stop women with hairpins and Mrs. Alvarez with a bobby pin she calls Catholic skeleton key. She kneels, sticks the pin in, turns, mutters something that sounds like Latin and is probably Spanish, and the lock gives exactly the way doors always do when a woman who should run a county asks them nicely. I don't look back. Priya is at my shoulder with the bat. Lena is a voice in my ear. 2 blocks west, car, go. Simon says, don't run, which is how you tell people they are prey without using the word prey. We run. The cold hits like forgiveness. Outside, the city smells like real limes. Someone's taco truck fighting the river's old breath. A patrol car slides into view because Mrs. Alvarez texted a detective while I read, and some men do arrive in time. The boy sits on the curb and cries like a person who found the end of a sentence. Inside, the votes are still in the lime crate. I don't need to count them. I know which truth the room wanted to keep. It won't get it. What do you owe a room that taught you to call your body a story?
In the days after the warehouse, the club molts. The Mercy sites blink, redirect, go private, and rebrand. Confessional doors show up on Craigslist under office furniture. A press release announces a hiatus to restore trust. The podcasts keep their feeds alive with recap episodes, best-of edits that sound like apologies without nouns. Priya's feature gets a second life. A larger outlet syndicates it with a headline I can live with. The boy's mother finds my email through a cousin of a friend and writes a message that says thank you 5 different ways and we are not okay once. She asks if he can talk to Mrs. Alvarez about how to sleep like a person again. He can. He does. Lena forwards me a link to a stack of files labeled Masters, quietly uploaded to a mirror our city owes her a parade for. Dozens of people retrieve their voices. Some ask for their episodes to be taken down. They are. Some leave theirs up and write new captions in their own names. One woman releases a cut with her laugh left in. It is not brave. It is tidy. I like it better. My mother sends pierogi and the cat in a sweater I will never consent to naming. She asks, "Do you forgive?" And I say, "Not yet." And she nods like that is a sacrament. At work, Kelly says the word proud in a sentence with my name and doesn't sound like she's asking HR's permission first. The cardiologist writes murmur correctly. I do not note it on a list. On a Saturday, I walked the lake with a bag of limes. I set them in a row on a cold bench and sit beside them like odd friends. I text Priya a photo and she says, "Girl, margarita?" I laugh. I toss the limes one by one into the trash, and the thunk when they hit the plastic bottom is more satisfying than I expect. I still dream in second person sometimes. You will go. You will say enough. You will not be clean, but you will not be theirs. I wake up with my jaw tight and my hands unclenched, and that feels like progress. When I pass the building on Wabash now, the 13th floor is a number you can press. It takes you to a vacant office with bad carpet and a smell like dry erase markers. Someone scrawled, "Who owns your voice?" on the wall, and someone else wrote, "I do," beneath it, in a color that looks like a dare. The boy DMs me links to songs he thinks I should like. He is wrong about half of them. He is right about the one with the drum line that sounds like a train starting, and I add it to a playlist called Rooms That Don't Eat Us. When the lake wind slaps my face, I slap back with my scarf and let it make my eyes water. I call Eli and tell him a dumb joke out loud, and when I don't hear him laugh, I pretend he's rolling his eyes at me the way he used to when I corrected his grammar. Grief is a room that doesn't get to vote anymore. The club will come back with a different name. It will always come back. We are a nation of confession booths built without priests. But I have what I need. A neighbor with the shoe that records, a friend with the bat, a cousin with the map of the cloud, a mother with soup, a city with enough women to be impolite. When the next silver envelope shows up under someone's door, I want them to hear a sentence in my voice. You don't owe anyone your worst thing. If they go anyway, I want them to keep their phone in their shoe.
I used to think secrets were heavy rocks in a backpack, and if I told enough of them to the right room, I'd feel light. Now I think they're more like water, necessary, dangerous in floods, held best by people who know the shape of their own containers. I learned the difference between confession and extraction. I learned how quickly a compliment can become a leash. I learned that the oldest con in the world is a man with a clipboard telling you your hurt is data and calling that kindness. I learned that the thing I needed to say about Eli didn't belong to a room, it belonged to a kitchen with lasagna, to a bench by the lake, to a text to Priya at 1:06 a.m. that reads, "I miss him," and gets back "me too," and a skull and a heart, the emoji grammar of women who refuse to be quiet because quiet is how they got us. I don't forgive the room. I don't forgive the men who made mercy a brand and truth a product. I do forgive the part of me that wanted relief so badly. She didn't check the lock before sitting down. She's the same part that got up. She gets to stay. If you're listening because an ad told you you'll feel better after you bite a lime and say the thing that burns, try this instead. Tell one person who will still bring you soup if you're wrong. My secret didn't save me. My people did. And now, if a room asks for my voice, it's going to have to learn to say please.